All right, here we are again. This is part of my one of my favorite parts that we do is when we get to talk about the conversations we just had with our guests. So we just talked with David. What do I always miss his last name? Facchini, David Facchini, who is
Cool
the
last name.
I know, I know. Fettuccine like makes me a little hungry.
Hungry.
Um, so he's the administrative director at Yale, a dear friend of mine in quality. Um,
I think something cool about David, besides the fact that he went from transporter all the way to, basically
yeah,
director of radiology at Yale, incredible. But in addition to that, like I love that he organized this and built a manual process
yeah,
before really any technology was existing in this space. Because I feel like that gives you such a layer of understanding. Now his team can go out there, the market, look at the technologies that exist, know
yeah,
exactly what their workflows are, what works, what doesn't work, and they can really use technology to their advantage to likely distribute FTEs in a new way, get more, like the human interaction can go to the top of that
yeah.
pyramid. And so, what were your thoughts? I know you've seen programs from like everything's manual to like everything's automated and everywhere in
Yeah.
between. What were your thoughts?
I mean, I had so many from the fact that, like, I mean, he's quality. He's a quality guy. So,
Right.
like, his process of being able to like build himself and like test and PDSA and like, before like hardwiring it into like an electronic solution is just right up my alley. This is how we do things. But the one thing that struck out to me is like the availability of resources. Like, this is Yale, right? So they're an academic medical center. He's like, I had to put a business case together. I had to get a budget. I had to get FTEs and I had to manage this build. And I see so many organizations where that would never even be an option for them. They don't have the resources. They would never be able to invest in it like this. And so I really loved his kind of spin of like, this took 10 FTEs. This took 4 years. It was a huge investment. We learned a ton. Our patients are better taken care of. And now, knowing what I know, even if I had the resources, I wouldn't do it again. I think that is huge. Even now, I went into an organization just the other day and they're like, should we purchase this or should we just build it ourselves? And I don't think people understand the breadth and depth of what they're taking on when they do that. Because it's not just the build, it's the ongoing management of it moving forward too. And technology is changing and growing. And unless you have those resources embedded in your healthcare organization, which is not what healthcare systems typically do, right? We care for patients. Um, it's an undertaking that I don't think people understand the breadth and depth of.
Yeah, and I think there's a cost to it that they don't take into account. They just think like, "Oh, well, we're just gonna like turn this thing on within Epic or this work list or and then we're just gonna like throw people at it." But like when you really get down into the nitty-gritty of building a quality program around a work list and all of those manual processes, it is a huge undertaking. There is a much
Yeah.
larger human cost, technology cost, time cost, quality cost. And I think you're exactly right. I don't think people take all of that into account. I hear this, I'm wondering if you hear it too. I hear this kind of term all the time like, oh, well, we're an epic first organization. And I get it. People are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these EHRs. So don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. No, they want to use what they have financially paid for in a big way. But at the same time, it's like, once again, you're asking your staff to take on the burden rather than giving them the tools that they need. And I want to say to
Yeah.
them, like, when they're like, "Well, our hospital's just asking us to use whatever, fill in the
Yeah.
blank." I just wanna say, "Okay, but think about all of the downstream effects of that." And most people, when I am talking to them week to week, I'm like, "How many FTEs do you have that you're able to put towards this program?" Do you know what the answer is?
Yeah, a really good
Um,
guess.
like 1? Maybe like a
Maybe.
partial?
Yeah, halftime, partial, maybe. We could pull somebody from doing the work they're already doing.
I'm like, "Okay, so you're gonna have a partial get after 200,000 imaging follow-ups a year, a partial FTE." That's yeah, that'll work.
I mean, I think that you don't even understand, like, the technology is just part of the development. You still have to develop roles and responsibilities. You still have to develop, like we were saying, the communication and the culture around it. The designing the responsibilities around technology is a ton of work. And so, like, if you take on developing the program and developing the technology, and let's just be clear, does anybody have an Epic team that's just sitting around, or
No,
a TDS group that's just like waiting for things to do? Like, I just, the connections themselves take resources. Even if you bring in a third party vendor, you still need your TDS team to come make those connections and build the infrastructure. I think that's another like real gap in knowledge that our radiology leaders have, is that it's not just about the technology, but you have to insert the technology into a framework that is already existing. And that is very difficult to do. And everybody's a little bit different of like what they allow and what can go on that feed and how that connection is made and when we can authorize it, where it is in the queue. And that is really, really difficult to manage. So if you take on managing building the product as well as all of that, I mean, 4 years later, you're underwater and you're no better off, and technology has passed you by. I think that when we're looking at these decisions that our healthcare leaders have to make, there is no, like, the pressure is high, the stakes are high, and, we're going into a future that we don't understand, that we don't even know where it's going, right? We're all kind of just running as fast as we can. Um, but if you don't understand as a leader what your vision is for technology, when do I invest? When do I build? Where do I put my resources? What type of projects do I do? This one specifically of actionable incidental findings, right? It's a do the right thing and an ROI. So whenever I'm talking to organizations about where should I start or where should I invest, I'm like, this is a good one to start with. This, lung cancer screening, population health, those ones that really support our patients, that do the right thing and support the operations that you have in a financial way. But you can't make those decisions based on one conversation, or you can't make those decisions based on one idea that you have. You have to understand the entire landscape of technology in the next 5 years. And that's really hard to do.
it's so true. I would just like to give one example from behind the scenes when somebody says, I want to build this internal, like I have a data science team or I have some technology resources that feel like they can build this. Um, which as well as I do, identification is just like one part of this much bigger equation. So when they say we can build the identification, what they're saying is I can build 1/10 of what you need. But just the behind the scenes layer of that is we have a fully staffed team that is working on these models and their efficiency every month, making them better. So I just want to
Yeah.
ask the hospital, like, okay, you don't just build once and then, okay, everything is going to run perfect for the future. You have to continuously iterate, continuously learn, continuously model, continuously look to what other technology is going on to see if you can add efficiency gains. And I don't think people understand that. They think, oh, I'll just build this one time and then I can just use it forever. And that's just not how technology, data science, learning, being a learning organization, that is just not how this works. It just constantly has to be iterated, maintained, and you have to be agile enough that you can continue to spend these resources to make it the
Yeah.
best that it can be. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
technology selection is selecting long term relationships. If you don't think about it this way, like when you select technology, you are selecting a long term relationship with the company. So, it's not just the product. And I hate to say like we're purchasing potential, but it really is because everything is growing and changing so fast. I encourage our organizational leaders is when you're selecting technology, get to know the company, get to know the people you're working with. What is their implementation process? Who are their customer success managers? How does that interaction work? Who is the CEO? Like, what do they believe in? What is their vision? I'm just telling you, it all matters. It really trickles down to the type of product you're going to have and the service you're going to be able to provide. And wouldn't you know it, time and time again, I haven't been wrong yet. If I meet a team, and I will not say what product or what workflow or what problem we're solving here, but I meet a team and I'm like, ooh, I do not like them, or ooh, they rub me the wrong way, or that person was very condescending. And then I go and see how their product is working in an organization. It's not good. It is
Yeah,
not good. So it matters who you're partnering with as much as how well the technology works and how well it solves your problem. That's my one gift of the week is if we can really think about who we're talking to, not just what we're purchasing. So
that's your nugget. I'll take it.
yeah.
My nugget
All right.
is watch out. PE and venture guys are wearing new outfits. No, I'm just it's so good to see you, Candice. Always fun to hang out. And
Oh,
thank you to
so
our
good.
audience. And you can find us on anywhere that you listen to your podcasts.
All right. Thanks, everyone.